So strong set of numbers, good cost control, and at the end of the year, 22.4 million cash in the bank. And that's before the additional money that we had coming in January.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Catherine Isted, the Chief Financial Officer of Santhera Pharmaceuticals. Catherine, very good to speak with you. You've just reported a strong set of results. Could you take us through the key highlights, please?
Yeah, good afternoon, Stephen, and very good to speak to you again. So yes, we've had a great set of results announced this morning. AGAMREE, that's our product for DMD. We have shown a doubling of sales, or close to doubling of sales, at 77.2 million. This is broken down by our own product sales, so where we're selling in Europe. That was up 72% at close to 26 million Swiss francs. And then we have royalties and milestones from our partners. So that's partners in the US and also in China, where we received 23 million. The balance was made up from revenues from our supply of products and services to those partners, which was an additional 28 million. So revenues very strong. In terms of our OPEX, we've managed to keep that very well in control. So it's actually down from prior years and down to 53 million. So strong set of numbers, good cost control. And at the end of the year, 22.4 million cash in the bank. And that's before the additional money that we had coming in January, which I think we'll talk about in a bit later on.
You also announced a pricing agreement for AGAMREE in Italy. Can you update us on the commercialization of AGAMREE and how it's progressing across Europe and also globally with your partners?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had a very busy start to the year. So if we look actually first back to 2024 and sort of into 25, we had Austria and Germany and then the UK approved. At the start of this year, we've had both Spain and Italy approved with good prices. That means that we now have 80% of the major European markets now approved. So I think this is brilliant for patients. The pricing agreement that we've got with the Italians is the sort of the second to last step. So we now need the announcement in what they call the official gazette, which we expect in the next 6 to 8 weeks. And then following that, we will start commercialization. This ties in very closely with our Spanish approval, where during this quarter, we're actually going to be providing free product, and our commercialization there fully starts at the beginning of Q3. So that really underpins our growth for this year. We're also expecting other what I call minor European markets through the rest of 2026. So we've got various of the Nordic countries, Benelux, and actually importantly for us being a Swiss company, Switzerland, we expect to get the drug on the market also this year. So I mean, in terms of our own markets, that's great. You mentioned about more internationally. We've also got Catalyst, who works with us in the US. They had great sales last year, 117 million, and expect that to grow to 140 to 150 this year as well. So again, very good progress globally. And in China, where we have our partner Sperogenix, in China, they are selling that through sort of the private payer network. That only started in September, and in December, they had 400 patients. Now, 400 patients is, okay, a little bit smaller than we have in total in Germany at the moment. But by now, and the results, that's actually doubled to 800. So it's actually doubled the number of Chinese patients. So China, even in the private payer market, is substantially bigger than Germany already. They will continue on in the private payer market this year, and then they're going to look for national reimbursement to start the beginning of 27.
As you said, Catherine, the start of the year has been a busy one for the company, not only in Europe, but also globally, with the signing of a licensing deal for Japan and APAC countries with Nxera. Can you remind us about that agreement and what it means for Santhera?
Yeah, so Japan and those countries are also really important territory. So this is our third licensing agreement after the US and China. The headline deal values were $215 million, of which we had $40 million up front. That was a $30 million cash payment and a $10 million equity investment. They are working towards rolling it out in those countries. So that's Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. The timing depends on whether or not they need to have a bridging study. If they don't, then that could potentially happen towards the end of next year. If not, it may be about a year longer. Nexthera is a great partner for us. They actually acquired various of the teams from Idorsia. Idorsia is actually where AGAMREE was originally developed, so they know the product well. So when we are working with Nexthera in terms of CMC packages or helping them, they still actually have a team. Their CMC team is actually based in Basel that have worked on this originally. So we've already got that great connectivity with that team. So we couldn't have asked for a better partner. And as a CFO, adding to our cash balance at the year end to have an extra $40 million is also obviously very helpful as well.
Earlier this week, you announced a positive CHMP opinion that is recommending an extension to the AGAMREE marketing authorization to include patients with DMD from 2 years of age. And also just last month, you presented long-term data on AGAMREE. Can you remind us what that data showed? How important is this data? And are you seeing any impact from the publication of the long-term data yet?
Yeah, so earlier this week, we talked about the announcement that we'll be extending the indication down to 2 years old. It was originally 4. I think this really shows this safety of this product to be able to go down to, almost babies or toddlers of 2 years old. So I think this is great for patients. If you have DMD, from the moment you are diagnosed until the moment that you breathe your last breath, you should be on a steroid. Because that prolongs life and that improves it improves the decline in symptoms. However, many parents don't want to put a young child on steroids because of the side effects that have been associated with steroids. Our data, which was actually what we presented in March, shows that we have the same efficacy as the classical or traditional corticosteroids. But what we have is a far better safety profile. So this long-term data, which was up to 8 years, said as well as showing that equivalent efficacy, we had, for example, 80% fewer vertebral fractures. Importantly, our young boys maintained their height growth rates compared to normal boys. The classical corticosteroids, you have significant growth stunting. So these boys, maybe at the age of 15, look like they're 8 years old. Now, that is, not only an issue in terms of obviously their self-esteem, but also as one of the key opinion leaders said, well, if your boys are growing at the same rate, that means their lungs are bigger too. And in terms of lung function, that is really important to try and maintain that longer. So our boys have bigger lungs. We are at the moment looking to try and get some data around that to show how that potentially impacts the boys longer term to have the bigger lungs. So that's really exciting. The other thing in terms of safety profile, unfortunately, with the steroids, there is a major incidence of cataracts. We had significantly lower cataracts with our product and also no glaucoma. And again, with traditional corticosteroids, you're getting glaucoma. So this is the first cut of our long-term data set. Over the next 3 years, we will continue to follow these boys and we look forward to reporting that data. So, 2 really great data sets that have been out, we've announced over the last few months.
Catherine, just looking ahead to the rest of 2026, what key milestones or catalysts should investors be watching for as you continue to execute on your strategy?
Well, I think firstly, we look at our direct market. So in our direct markets, we want to have successful launches in Spain and Italy. I think that's a given. But then also roll out those minor countries to get those on board. So we really do have all patients in Europe having access to AGAMREE. So that's if we look at our own markets. If you look further afield, we're obviously going to be working with Catalyst and Spirogenics in any way that we can to help grow their market penetration, and with Santhera in terms of any data that we can help them towards their submission. Geographically, we have signed a number of deals over the last 9 months, whether it's with GCC countries, India, Turkey, for example. We have one major market that we haven't yet signed a distribution partner, and that's the Latin America market. We are working hard, and we're down to sort of the final several candidates there. So that's another announcement that we look to put out to really sort of complete that global reach. And then finally, again, from a company point of view, we are at the moment a one product company. We have the infrastructure for a one product company. It's 50 to 55 million Swiss francs in terms of our OPEX. We want to add in 1 or 2 other products to that, so we can have that operational leverage of having other products within there. So we are actively looking to in-license 1 or 2 other products, either towards, or certainly progress that during 26. That may well now fall into 27, but that's also another key focus for the company.
Catherine, thank you very much for updating us today. I hope you'll continue to keep us updated on your progress.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
Catherine Isted, Chief Financial Officer of Santhera Pharmaceuticals.